Hey everyone, so today I'm going to do a bookshelf tour. This is one of my bookshelves. I'm going to show you the other bookshelf. But this is the bookshelf that I mentioned in my Bookie Wookie tag, that it was the shelf with books on it, but it wasn't a full bookshelf. Cubing Genius 97 requested that I do a bookshelf tour or a book collection tour showing the books that I own. This shelf consists of classics and my favorites, a couple of YA favorites, and a couple of other favorites and other books. So over here we have my driver's book, the book that you read to get a driver's license. I don't have my driver's license yet because I don't have a car to drive, and I wanted to focus on school, so I haven't read it yet all that much. I've just looked at the symbols, but yeah, that's there. Might have to get on that. A Minute in the Church, 1 Minute Catholic Apologetics, pretty self-explanatory. Alfred Hitchcock's Mystery Magazine, from November 2010 to September 2011. We stopped getting subscriptions for these magazines. I don't know why, but we did. And these magazines are a collection of short stories submitted by other people, and usually they're crime or mystery based. And yeah, I've read a couple of things in these, and they're pretty good. The Hunger Games trilogy by Suzanne Collins. The Hunger Games, Catching Fire, and Mockingjay. I love this trilogy. It's such a good trilogy, and I'm so excited for the movie. I'm not going to pull out the covers because you've probably seen them like a million times. But, yeah. Nevermore by Kelly Cray. Great book if you're a huge Edgar Allan Poe fan or Edgar Allan Poe freak like me. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis. This is the movie cover, but I like the original cover anyway. And it's such a good book. I love the entire Chronicles of Narnia series. Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. You all know my thoughts on this book if you've watched my Christmas haul. Sorry. This is a great book. I love this book. It's one of my favorites. UCAT. This is a Christian Catholic teen catechism, like a catechism for teens. So it's a great book if you have a lot of questions about like the Bible, Ten Commandments, and all that stuff. Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and Other Stories by Robert Louis Stevenson. The Complete Sherlock Holmes Volume 1 by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. The Hunchback of Notre Dame by Victor Hugo. I really want to get Les Mis. The Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux. Complete Stories and Poems of Edgar Allan Poe. This is the first edition I've ever had of all of his works, so it's kind of close to me, or it has value for me. Love his works and love him and his, yeah. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass by Lewis Carroll. I love Alice in Wonderland. It's one of my favorite stories of all time, because I can totally relate to Alice in a lot of ways. Mary Shelley by Frankenstein. 2 books on London. When my dad gave me these 2, kind of like brochures or something, or I don't know, but he gave me these when he was stationed in London in the military. So one's about the Crown Jewels and Tower of London. He gave them to me because he knows that I love England and British people. And Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. So this is the first shelf, and now I'm going to show you the bookshelf. Alright, so this is my glorious bookshelf. I love it so much. You can see that I've had a lot more books put in. Well, a little bit, but you know, I tend on filling it all up. And, okay, so up here we have my bind-ups and leather bounds. And some classics over there. We have children's books that I read when I was a kid, and then YA books. And then here are adult books and library books. Down here are self-help and religious books, and down here are books that I've either read and haven't liked all that much, or books that I'm not sure I'm going to read. And some stuff over there. So let's start. Alright, up here we have 3 audiobooks. The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, and The Legends of King Arthur, The Sword and the Stone. I listened to the King Arthur one and Sherlock Holmes, but I haven't listened to Tom Sawyer. The Tenant of Wildfell Hall by Anne Bronte. I found this at the thrift store and it was pretty cheap, so. And Heart of Darkness and the Secret Sharper by Joseph Conrad. We're supposed to be reading The Heart of Darkness in English soon. Not soon, but we're supposed to be reading it, so thought I'd get it. William Shakespeare, The Merchant of Venice. I love William Shakespeare. And we're supposed to be reading this in English as well. And I kind of have it bookmarked up here because I was reading it for a little bit. And then we have the Lord of the Rings bind up, the Fellowship of the Ring, the Two Towers, and Return of the King on this bind up. I started the Fellowship of the Ring a while back, and I don't know, I couldn't get into it. But they're really well written. It's just, I don't know, I couldn't get into it. But I probably will read these books one day. Over here we have The Chronicles of Narnia bind up by C.S. Lewis, all 7 books in one. Love C.S. Lewis, and I watched a documentary on him, and it's so interesting. I love watching documentaries on authors, but that's irrelevant. The Complete Tales and Poems by Edgar Allan Poe. Obviously, I love this book. The Complete Works of William Shakespeare. Beautiful copy. Grimm's Complete Fairy Tales. Hans Christian Andersen, The Complete Fairy Tales. I love fairy tales, if you can't tell already. I've loved them since I was a kid, so these are really treasured and will be treasured forever. All of these will. And right here we have Literary America. It's, sorry, it doesn't even have any pictures, but it's about authors in America and what inspired them to write certain stories and stuff, like through pictures and photographs. And a Library of Nations and a book about Britain. That's that first shelf. Down here we have my childhood and YA. Right here we have Once Upon a Time. It's like a kid's book by Childcraft. Not sure who it's by specifically, but I read this when I was a kid and loved it. 1 Minute Favorite Fairy Tales by Sherry Lewis. Pocahontas, The Voice of the Wind. It's my favorite Disney movie out of the Disney movies, even though a lot of them are my favorites. This one was my favorite when I was a kid. I would watch it non-stop, and my parents would get sick of it, but I'm not sure why it's not a lot of other people's favorites, but it's mine. The story just taught me a lot. 100 People Who Changed America by Russell Friedman. The Frog Princess by E.D. Baker. This book kind of got me into twisted fairy tales and like twists on them and stuff. The Fairy Diaries, Annie's Journey by Louise Bradley. I was also a huge fairy fan when I was a kid. The Crystal Chalice and City of Fortune, the second and third book in the Eldor trilogy. Voyage of the Dawn Treader, The Silver Chair, and The Last Battle, all by C.S. Lewis. I don't have The Horse and His Boy, Prince Caspian, and The Magician's Nephew in these covers, because these are different covers from the original ones. I want to get the other books to complete this. Alice in Wonderland, the Tim Burton version in book form. Looking Glass Wars by Frank Bador. The Tomorrow Code by Brian Faulkner. Hush Hush by Becca Fitzpatrick. I don't have Crescendo and Silence because I read a little bit of Crescendo and I wasn't really into it, but this book did entertain me though, I must say. Invasion by John S. Lewis. Jellicoe Road by Melina Marchetta. Aragon by Christopher Paolini. This is really messed up because I lost the book and I didn't know where it was, so it got ruined and stuff, and water damaged and all that good stuff about books. I was almost done with it, but I lost interest because I lost the book, but maybe I'll continue with it. Across the Universe by Beth Revis. Dark Inside by Jen Roberts. I've read this book, and I have yet to do a review on it, so look out for that. Divergent by Veronica Roth. I do have a review of this on my channel, so if you'd like to check it out, I'll probably leave a link below. The Scorpio Races by Maggie Steve Otter. and I Am Not a Serial Killer by Dan Wells. And this, if you're wondering, I don't know if you can see the text, but I got this frame at the thrift store as well, and it says, "A rose for beauty, a thorn for sorrow, and a bud for rebirth." I wrote this is like my own words. I wrote this when I was a kid for my mom because she was going through a hard time, so it's kind of like a reflection on life and stuff, and how there's beauty and there's sorrow and there's always room for rebirth and rejuvenation. So just a little fact about that. Down here we have And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. I love the cover because of course it has black, red, and white, and that's like my favorite combination. The Poet by Michael Connelly. The Fairy Godmother by Mercedes Lackey. The Taking by Dean Koontz. A Duty to the Dead by Charles Todd. The Shack by W.M. Paul Young. And this little angel with a violin is kind of like a book holder. These are my library books that I showed in my library haul. An Abundance of Catherine's, Paper Towns, Shades of Grey, The Knife of Never Letting Go, right here, and Graphic Classics by Girl and Pell. I'm not currently reading anymore, but I read Looking for Alaska. That's why it's missing right here. And oh my goodness, it was amazing. I'm going to do a review on it, but I loved it. It was such a good book. Down here we have religious and self-help books. And we start with this book, How to Win Friends and Influence People for Teen Girls. My mom got me this because she thinks I have a hard time making friends. And I think that's partly because I'm an introvert and I like being by myself most of the time. So, I don't know. She gave me this because she wanted to help me out, and I appreciate that. It's just, you know, it's not a book that you would normally see me reading, but I'll probably get around to it. Chicken Soup for the Soul of America, Stories to Heal the Heart of Our Nation. Writing for Children and Teenagers by Lee Wyndham. The Catholic Youth Guide to Life and Love by George A. Kelly, I believe. Yes, George A. Kelly. Did Adam and Eve have belly buttons? And 199 Other Questions from Catholic Teenagers. Firepower Through Confirmation. Angels Everywhere by Lynn Valentine. This is my mom's book, Between Heaven and Mirth by James Martin. Memorize the Faith by Kevin Vost. And The Christmas Candle by Max Lucado. I always tell myself that I'm going to read this during Christmas, but I never do. And down here is a bit tricky and the lighting isn't that good, I'm sorry. But down here we have the books that I didn't really like or I'm not sure I'm going to read. Here we have the infamous Twilight Saga. I'm not going to pull out the covers because you've probably seen them a million times. So, yeah, Twilight, New Moon, Eclipse, Breaking Dawn. Yeah, I don't have much to say about this. I read it when I was younger, and I thought it was brilliant then. Now, I don't think it's that brilliant. Well, that's my own opinion. Right here, From Distant Waves to here, are books that my mom and I contributed to book paperback swap. And I'm not going to show you these two because they're like adult. One's for devotions for couples and one's about pregnancy. Here we have Ferris by Gail Carson Levine. Oops, sorry, you can't see that well. Rowan Hood, 2 books on Rowan Hood by Nancy Springer. This is like a twist on Robin Hood and like how he had a daughter or something. Distant Waves by Suzanne Wen. Fallen by Lauren Kate. I really like this cover, but it's kind of deceiving. I started reading it and I couldn't stand loose, so I'm not sure if I'm going to continue or if I'm going to pursue it, but I just like the cover. The Four Forges, The Elven Ways, Book 1 by Jenna Rhodes. Obviously this book is about elves, and I'm not really interested in it anymore. Dream Hunter by Elizabeth Knox. Where the Red Fern Grows by Wilson Rawls. The Body Farm by Patricia Cornwell. The Long Patrol by Brian Jacques? I don't know how to say that. Pretty Poison by Joyce and Jim Levine. Sorry if you can't see these covers very well. The Blooding by Joseph Wambo. and North Star Conspiracy by Miriam Grace Manfredo. And then here we have miscellaneous stuff. Here we have a baby name book. Don't be suspicious because I use this baby name book for character names. Hence all the bookmarked places right there. 2 yearbooks. Here we have sort of a kid's book about a couple of saints. A book about violin, a magazine, a book about playing guitar, another book about playing guitar, guitar tabs, and a book about armor, which I think I stole when I was a kid from the library because I wanted to research weapons for my characters. So that was my bookshelf tour. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm planning to get a lot more books, obviously. I'll probably be updating this, you know, not every chance I get a book, but, you know, pretty frequently, I guess. Thank you for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this. And Cubing Genius 97, I hope you enjoyed this broadcasting of my books to the world. Stay tuned for more book reviews and book-related videos. Bye, everyone.